We heard Dr. Siddharth mentioning about the issues, the barriers to access, and certain interventions that his NGO has tried in terms of creating self-help groups, risk pooling. It's nothing but risk pooling which the insurance sector is supposed to provide us. We also heard from Dr. Upendra Paul especially mentioned, and I think Dr. Praveen in the pre-lunch session mentioned, every catastrophic illness in India brings down 2.2% population below the poverty line. So any catastrophic illness in this country, or for that matter even globally, let's not be repressed that it happens only in India. I can assure you, despite all the ills of the Indian healthcare delivery system, we are one of the best and the finest. In USA, 40% people have no access at all. In this country, a pauper who cannot afford even a glass of water can walk into a super spacious room and at least get a consultation. So that is the plus side of it. Let's appreciate that as well. Insurance, which is, we were dismally at around 3% about 12, 13 years ago. The penetration of insurance was hardly 3%. And this 3% comprised of primarily employed groups, just like in US. It's only with the social insurance schemes coming up that the penetration today is around 14%, as compared to China, which is around, I think, around 98%. Anyway, China is around 98%. And 40 years ago, both China and India were at the same level, 2.6, if I remember the correct figure. So how insurance can boost healthcare access? A couple of facets have already been covered by Siddharth, so there is no point my repeating them. The fundamental principle of insurance is risk pooling. But the flip side of an insurance company is, while it is supposed to be doing risk pooling, it also does adverse selection. So, if you have a predisposing disease, it would not like to cover you. If you are 55 plus, thanks to the regulatory body, now there are policies wherein even if you have not got a policy till the age of 55, you can get a policy. And if you have been holding a medical policy of your own and you have crossed 55, I think the latest regulation says the insurance company cannot refuse it, they have to continue the policy. The access to healthcare has been the biggest barrier in this country, not only for those who don't have the resources to pay for the healthcare services, also for those who have resources to pay for healthcare services. Take example, 30 years ago, everybody who needed a bypass used to fly down to Houston. And Texas Heart had a huge set, 17-member team dealing with patients coming from Asia. I have met with all 17 members of that team. And when I met them, half of them were having work, half of them were only loitering around. Because we had few centers opened up in India by that time. So, the availability of healthcare services are not linked to the need. We heard this need statement in the pre-lunch session from Dr. Sanjeev, and he asked again that from Dr. Kaul. This is something which was actually suggested by Professor McKebney when he was invited by Pandit Nehru to formulate the first 5-year plan, the health portion. This was talked then, and it has still not been touched. And till the time a health regulatory authority is created which has got teeth, it will not happen. So how can we make it happen? When we buy the insurance policies, despite the fact there is a regulatory body in insurance sector, the policy is still the seller's market. He puts the conditions. He puts the condition, if you want to utilize cashless facility, you can go to XYZ hospital. But if you ask the insurance provider, this list of 100 hospitals, do they provide you the same quality of service? You won't get an answer. So where is the equity? There is no equity in health delivery. There is no equity in the indemnity that you are buying. And the flip side of buying an indemnity policy is, you don't fall ill, so your money is gone down the drain. But that is unfortunately the dictum which we Indians believe in. Since I am perfectly healthy today, why should I buy a health policy? I am doing disservice to my own self and not buying the policy. So we need to create an awareness. The social insurance scheme started by governments, various state governments, and then RSBY. There have been success stories so far. And I am not in any way making a statement that they are sustainable. Any scheme requires resource, which is money, and if it does not generate profit, it will collapse sooner than later. How much money the government can pool into these kind of social insurance schemes from the taxpayers' coffers? It will not last long. So these social insurance schemes need to be upgraded, the awareness needs to be created how to utilize them, how to demand the quality from that indemnity policy. So the healthcare delivery context in India is transitioning from individual-centric, the doctor-centric model to patient-centric model. It is only the transition has started, and the transition has started because of the entry of corporates. Corporates only get flack. Making profit in health and education is a crime in this country. Why? It should not be. Which hotel gives 25% food free? Tell me one hotel in this country. None. Which education institution, although they still have to do something, but majority of the education institutions don't give anything free. So why restrict only health sector? Channelize that resource. It can become a not-for-profit, a Section 25 company, and the profit which is generated out of the scheme can get plow back into extending the reach. I think this is what we need to talk. This is what we need to work on and make it happen. The social insurance schemes have been created. They have shown that they are successful in creating access, in creating some semblance of equity, in creating some semblance of quality assurance. But they have just started. They need to be strengthened. They need to be, the public needs to be made aware, and it should become a right that I should be insured. It should be a fundamental right, not a voluntary choice. Unless that happens, and each one of us pools for our own health risk. There are various models of creating health funds. There is a Singapore model, there is a Hong Kong model, there is a Swedish model. There are various kinds of models. There is a South Korean model which is very different from all these models and has worked very well. There is a Philippine model where even the OPD drugs are dispensed. But the caveat in the drug delivery is generics. Do we accept generics in this country? We are enamored with brand names. Dr. Kaul was making certain points, and I heard from my friend sitting in the rear about the excesses by the hospitals. I have been in this sector for more than 35 years. I have worked in government sector, I have worked in the NGO sector, I have worked as a freelance practitioner, freelance consultant, and I have worked in corporates. Let me assure you, it is the corporates which still deliver something more meaningful than any other system. Why? Because they have to create a good image. And today, that has become an essential ingredient for an organization to sustain and survive. So let's use kind of interventions which have been done by, let's say, Tatas, Birlas. They were non-institutionalized, promoter-specific interventions for societal good. They were also like something similar to social schemes the governments and various state governments have created. We could take a leaf out of those kind of models, pick up the social insurance, pick up the private health insurance, which is at least, this is one sector which is regulated to a large extent. What is needed is this melting pot has to amalgamate all these various products and create a newer product which is again designed around the customer, which says there has to be a risk profiling. Please have a questionnaire, have a risk profiling score sheet, give it to the customer, do his evaluation, give it back the feedback, and then the actual process should be transparent enough to say, you look, you are 33-year-old, a 33-year-old man, the health policy indemnity could have cost you, let's say, 5,000 rupees for a year. Your risk profile, because of the genetic predisposition and because of the lifestyle habits, takes your score from, say, let's say, X to another 15% of risk. So your premium will go up by 25% or 15 basis points or 30 basis points. Initially it will be all empirical. We don't have the data for any insurance company today to actually come out. The only data the insurance companies talk about is high claim ratios, which is a fact. All these social insurance schemes, especially Yashasni in Karnataka, when they started, there was actually a concern, are they being overutilized? Number of surgeries went up. Were they really genuine surgeries? Or they were driven by the hospital and the doctor? So these are question marks. These things can only be managed if there are patient advocacy groups. Now, insurance companies are not going to make a patient advocacy group because the patient advocacy group will demand from the insurance company its rights first. So, the civil society will have to get up and make small groups. Maybe it's initially called a self-help group, so that there is no negative connotation from the health insurance or the health provider to think that this is a body which is coming to fight with us. Accreditation of hospitals has started in this country. It's a 6-year journey that we have done so far. 100 plus hospitals have been accredited, about 550 odd are in queue. There was a question raised in the pre-lunch session about the quality of water in an accredited hospital, and I surprised. These are issues that we have debated in the revision of the standards, and we found if we step beyond a particular level, it becomes as if NABH is trying to become a super regulator. We cannot be a regulator over a regulating body. That's the unfortunate part. The problem is we have not been, this journey has just started. We are not in a stage where we can say the culture of quality has arrived. It might have arrived in, say, 30% of the hospitals which have been accredited. But we can't say with confidence that all 100 hospitals which have been accredited or all 550 which are asking for accreditation to be granted are into this journey. All these things will actually help access, because the customer knows when he buys a policy, what does he expect back in return when he needs the services. And that has to be transparent. To my mind, the larger the coverage, larger the risk pool, the better will be the services delivered. So we have to catalyze. If we want to have the dream of universal health access, I think we have to first realize the dream of universal health insurance. I think I will stop here because